करना चाहूँगा उन सब लोगों का जो आज एक वीकडे पे शाम को 8 बजे या तो डिनर करने वाले होंगे या डिनर कर चुके होंगे। और मैं सबका स्वागत करता हूँ समय पे आने के लिए। कुछ और साथी अभी और जुड़ेंगे। मैं स्वागत करना चाहूँगा डॉक्टर रतन शारदा का, जिन किताब पे आज हम चर्चा करेंगे। I would like to invite and request Sandeep Mahapatra ji to be part of the panel, and I'm very thankful for accepting this invite. मैं जो आज का ये विषय है, इसकी चर्चा के पीछे एक कहानी है जो कि मैं आप सबसे साझा करना चाहूँगा. I would like to share it with every one of you. It was almost 2 years ago, during the same Diwali time. I actually met a friend of mine. We both went to the same convent, and then he went to study his post-graduation from London. And when he came back, I was just meeting him in a very regular, friendly way. Rather than actually saying him a hi, hello, I was dressed in my Western attire with a tie and a blazer, and I said a namaskar to him. मेरा बस ये नमस्कार कहना भर था अपने उस मित्र को, और उनका पहला सवाल था, संघी हो गए हो क्या? और यहाँ से the curiosity in me actually aroused. That what is it that if I say namaskar to anyone in the country, do I become a Sanghi? And if I become a Sanghi, who's a Sanghi? तो वहाँ से उस जिज्ञासा में आगे बढ़ा. और उस वक्त क्योंकि जैसा मेरा स्वभाव रहा है, अगर मुझे किसी चीज़ के बारे में समझना होता है तो मैं उसके तर्क वितर्क दोनों तरीके की किताबें लाके पढ़ता हूँ. और उसी वक्त मुझे RSS 360 जो कि डॉक्टर रतन शारदा की इस किताब से पहले की किताब है, मेरी नज़र उस किताब पे गई. साथ के साथ उस किताब की कुछ बिब्लियोग्राफी और उसके अराउंड कुछ और रेफरेंसेस मुझे मिले, जिसमें से एक किताब संदीप जी की बैकग्राउंड में भी दिखाई पड़ रही है, जो कि अ व्यू टू द इनसाइड वॉल्टर एंडरसन की किताब है. RSS पे ये 2 किताबें मैंने इसके विषय में पढ़ी. और ऐसा ही नहीं, मैंने शमशीर इस्लाम जी का भी काफ़ी लिटरेचर पढ़ा, जो कि दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के एक विख्यात प्रोफेसर रहे. तो तर्क वितर्क दोनों को पढ़ने के बाद मेरी जिज्ञासा और बढ़ गई. और जैसा कि डॉक्टर शारदा ने अपनी किताब में लिखा भी है कि जिम कॉलिंस की किताब का रेफरेंस उन्होंने दिया है, जिन्होंने बड़ी मशहूर मैनेजमेंट की किताब लिखी थी, गुड टू ग्रेट. और उसमें हाउ कंपनीज लीड नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ एनी स्पेसिफिक लीडरशिप बट बिकॉज ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइज्ड स्ट्रक्चर दैट एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कैन हैव. और मेरे दिमाग में ये सवाल हमेशा रहा कि इफ RSS is an organization, what does it take to create an organization which can be evolved into such a large size, which is about to complete its 100 year? What is that core thing that takes it forward? Even if we talk about army or defense services per se, it's definitely a service. But this is something which is self-service and still without any transaction, without any confirmation of any salary or remuneration. How does it survive? और वहाँ से इस किताब का ताल्लुक आता है, जिस पे आज परिचर्चा खुद हमारे साथ ऑथर डॉक्टर शारदा करेंगे, जो कि बैंगलोर में हैं. और आज कोविड से इन्फेक्ट होने की वजह से हम उनको ज़्यादा देर तक अपने साथ रोकेंगे नहीं. हम चाहेंगे कि वो आराम भी करें. और वी आर वेरी थैंकफुल टू यू सर दैट डिस्पाइट बीइंग टेस्टेड पॉजिटिव, यू सेड नो, यू विल कंटिन्यू विद द कमिटमेंट. वी आर वेरी वेरी थैंकफुल. डॉक्टर शारदा का परिचय मैं चाहूँगा कि संदीप जी दें, लेकिन उससे पहले मैं संदीप जी का एक फॉर्मल इंट्रोडक्शन आप सबको दे दूं. वैसे संदीप जी एक विख्यात टीवी पर्सनैलिटी हैं. अक्सर डिबेट्स पे इनको सुना जाता है. मैं अक्सर कई बार संदीप जी को सुन चुका हूँ. ख़ासतौर पे गांधी के बारे में कुछ दिन पहले मुझे ICCR डरबन गांधी आश्रम से एक न्योता आया था. तो गांधी जी के बारे में पढ़ने के लिए मैं काफ़ी कुछ सर्च कर रहा था. तो यूट्यूब पे मुझे कुछ बड़ी कमाल की डिबेट्स मिली, जिसमें मेरे को संदीप जी को सुनने का और उनको समझने का मौका भी मिला. मैं संदीप जी से वैसे भी मिल चुका हूँ, हम कुछ कार्य के सिलसिले में पहले ही मिले हैं. संदीप जी, अपार्ट फ्रॉम बीइंग अ लॉयर, ही इज हैविंग ओवर 2 decades of experience in his practice. He has been associated with many socio-political activities since his student days. Sandeep ji has the rare distinction to be elected as president of the Jawaharlal Nehru University Students Union as a candidate of the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, which is ABVP, and also as joint secretary and member of the Students Council. इसके साथ संदीप जी का रुझान कई विषयों से जुड़ा रहा है. He has been a very noted panelist across multiple TV channels, including the BBC. He's also been nominated by the Vice Chancellor of Delhi University as member of governing body of the Aryabhatta College very recently. He was member of the governing body of Motilal Nehru College, Delhi University. He also contributes regularly to various publications from time to time on the issues of national importance. As a lawyer, he also undertakes pro bono work to help the deprived section of the society, which I think is part of his mission towards serving the society in his own ways. And without much of ado, considering Dr. Sharda is not feeling so well, I would now request Sandeep ji to take this discussion ahead and illuminate us with what this organization is all about. Thank you.
Namaskar to all of you, and a warm welcome to Dr. Ratan Sarda ji. I'm privileged to be talking about his second book in 2 years about RSS. He has immensely contributed about the RSS. He has helped us to understand about the RSS. Ratanji has been associated with the RSS since long, and he has the rare distinction, I must say, to have worked with all of the Sarsanga Chalaks, except for Dr. Hedegawar. And therefore, he has a rare insight into the working of the RSS. However, the best part of his working style is that, and he has written in this book also, that many a times he is asked by many people that, look, you have been working with RSS, but how come you're writing about RSS? So the dispassionate view, and as he says, that Sakshi Bhav, that is what makes him unique insofar as understanding RSS is concerned. Ratan Sarda ji has also written a PhD, and I'm sure in the coming days we'll be seeing a book about the PhD, and it is an interesting topic. RSS has been passing resolutions since its inception, and Ratan Sarda ji took up the challenge of studying the resolutions passed by the RSS insofar as the conflict zones of India, Bharat is concerned, or rather the conflict zones which were there in Bharat, like the Northeast, the Kashmir issue and Punjab, and he had submitted his PhD. Apart from that, he has got a diploma in textile chemistry. And as he says in his book, that he has devoted his life and time to understanding RSS, make people understand about RSS. And as I said, this is the second book. In 2018, he authored a book, RSS 360 Degree Understanding RSS. And this, if I may say so, this is a sequel to the first, that book. And before that also,
there is one more book, Sangh and Swaraj.
Yes, I was coming. Yes, I was coming to that, sir.
Sorry.
Yes, I was coming to that. So there are like lots of doubts, and the way history has been taught to us, we have been told by many people and the so-called eminent historians that freedom struggle was fought by a handful of people, and a particular family in our country is credited, maybe if I use the word, to say that they are the one who led the freedom struggle, and but for them would not have achieved freedom struggle. And many a times RSS has been accused that, look, you have not participated in this in the freedom struggle of Bharat. To that end, Sarda ji has written a book which he just named, and it clarifies lots of doubts about the role played by the RSS Swayamsevaks during the freedom movement, and that is part of this book also. So welcome, Ratanji, and I'm very grateful that you have agreed for this despite of the health situation, and I'm sure that with your erudition and your experience in RSS, this will be an enriching discussion. So taking forward the discussion, and I must thank Mohit ji to have given us this platform to discuss about RSS and what is RSS all about. And just to tell our participants who are very warmly who are participating in this, and as Mohit ji has said, today is a working day, weekday. Still, I can see there are more than 40-45 participants who are there. I must say that this is a book, as I said, it is a sequel to the first book of RSS. But before beginning the discussion, I must also say and share an anecdote which I heard from the present Sarsang Chalak, Mohan Bhagwat, that somebody asked the second Sarsang Chalak, Guru Golwalkar ji, that what is RSS? So Golwalkar ji had a very pertinent point to make. And he said, look, I started working in RSS from about mid-1930s. And it took me about 30 or 35 years to understand a little bit about RSS. So this is coming from the second Sarsang Chalak, who is giving RSS the shape that we are seeing today. So therefore, the book which has come from Dr. Sarda is in that direction to make you understand about the Sangh and what is Sangh all about. So let's start the discussion, sir. And I would start by asking you regarding the title of the book. In common parlance, and typically we have seen, sir, that generally movement leads to organization. It could be in the political field, it could be in the non-governmental sector, where movements are started and it takes the shape of the organization. But here you have taken a kind of a reverse kind of a view. From an organization to movement, the evolution of RSS from an organization to movement. Would be grateful, sir, if you could enlighten us on this as to why you chose this aspect, why you based your book on this premise.
Sandeep, thank you so much for a detailed, my detailed introduction. And regarding this title, if you remember, Dr. Hedgewar started the RSS in 1925 as an organization to organize Hindu society with just 12-15 young boys of 13-15 years and a man in the age of 35 who had already participated in revolutionary movement in Congress, Hindu Mahasabha, and then finally decided that unless Hindus come together, Hindus become strong, rise above their caste, parochialism and linguistic differences, India will not change, and even if independence comes, it will be just change of rulers, not the change of the society. With that in mind, he decided to organize Hindus. With this positive thought, he started with just 14-15 people. So naturally, it was an organization, but his thought was very clear. Because when he was not taken seriously, he said, somebody told him, who is this fool who says this is a Hindu Rashtra? He stood up and said, I, Keshav Baliram Hedgewar, say this is a Hindu Rashtra. But then when his RSS became a little serious, 40-50 shakhas, then control of the riots in Nagpur, etc., and somebody asked him, Doctor, what will RSS do? So doctor said RSS will do nothing. Swayamsevaks will do everything. In the sentence itself, the future of RSS was defined very clearly. The first you create organization, then people move into different directions as per their choice, and more organizations add. He also said that RSS is not an organization in the society, it's an organization of the society, which we as young people could not really fathom that, okay, this is a very nice sounding definition, but we can't see it yet. We were sidelined, we were ridiculed, and we were a small number, etc. But then, as we see the shape of RSS today, we realize that what Dr. Hedgewar said, that RSS is an organization of the people, society, that we can see now. So that is why the journey of RSS is very clearly defined from day one. As Dattopant Thengdi used to call it, unfoldment of RSS. So one by one, things kept on adding, new organizations kept on adding, people went on doing something new, and they would all be inspired by RSS. So that is the reason this organization, this particular definition suits RSS very well. Other, as you know, movements start, people get on the road, then how to control them, then you create an organization. So it doesn't happen that way in case of RSS. That is the reason I chose this title. It's a rare kind of movement which has taken years to come to this stage.
It's truly so, sir. Ratanji, as on today, and we know for a fact, and that is documented in your book also, that the Sangh has about, if I remember, the exact number is about 1 crore of Swayamsevak. That means about, if we take 5 family members of a Swayamsevak's family, that would reach of 5 crores. Still, there is a perception, I would say that a perception deficit, and still we see many a times that RSS being branded as a communal organization, as an organization which believes in many other things which the so-called intellectuals would say or look down upon. So do you think that there has been a constant badgering, so to say, insofar as the RSS is concerned, and there has been a motivational, so to say, or motivated effort by the naysayers of RSS to portray in this manner? And would you share with our audience as to what RSS is doing in this regard so as to dispel this perception? Because we know for a fact that RSS has been working in various fields for the last about 95 years, and in 5 years' time it will be completing a century of its existence. But this perception battle is still going on. So what do you have to say as in how to innovate or how to correct this perception, or what is the thinking of RSS in this regard in today's time, and 5 years hence it will be completing a century?
Sandeep, if you add the number of people who are affiliated to RSS through various other organizations, some of which are very big mass-based organizations, let us say BMS, ABVP, I don't even count Bharatiya Janata Party, there is Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Ekal Vidyalaya. So all these organizations which started out of Swayamsevaks going out and starting something new, number is much more bigger. that acceptance has increased can be clearly seen by people joining these organizations which are inspired by RSS. So that acceptability is there. Now, why it has taken us so long is RSS, joined the battle very late in the battle of perception. RSS had its Prachar Vibhag defined in 1990 for the first time after nearly 70 years of RSS, 1990 or 94.
Yes.
We realized that okay, now enough work has been done. Guruji was very much against propaganda. Dr. Ji was very much against propaganda. Interestingly, Dr. Ji knew how to use newspapers. He used them beautifully, which I've described in the book, in the medical agitation he held in Calcutta. I will not get into details. Then he also used it for, defeating the cut motion in MP against this British law of 1932, banning RSS Swayamsevaks from in teaching and in government jobs. So they knew how to use it. But since they had been very, very deeply wounded and damaged and weakened by continuous 3 years of very bad conditions, let us say 1947 partition, when hundreds of Swayamsevaks lost their lives, their families, their businesses. Then the ban came, which took nearly 1.5 years of struggle, satyagraha, in which again Swayamsevaks suffered a lot. In all this cycle, idea was to, since we come out of it, first rebuild the organization. As I discussed in the book, it was not an easy ride. There were a lot of Swayamsevaks who had doubt whether this will go or not. Not many people know that there was this period of self-doubt also. So out of which RSS rose again. So Guruji's idea is very clear that if you build your organizations, others will follow suit, and then slowly the perception will change. But as Balasaheb Devaraj took over, then he gave more importance. He started giving more interviews, talking to media much more. We had reached the stage, that was the period of 1973-74, when Andolan in Navnirman Andolan in Gujarat started, then Chhatra Andolan started in Bihar. That is when Balasaheb Devaraj came out aggressively and said, we may not be in politics, but if required, we will jump into politics, and after the job is done, we'll move out. That's what happened. So this approach to slowly tell people about the work, what was defined in 1994 is still the same, that only talk of your positive work, talk of the positive work of other good people, no propaganda, no beyond the actual work should be talk to the people. And being gentle, we don't really go out in the way that, fight it out and troll people and all that. We do debate, we do discuss, but idea is to present a positive image. And it also changed during the 2008 when my first book came out, when Saffron terror issue came up. By that time, internet had been very strong. So people just wondered what is so wrong with RSS, why RSS is being tagged as Saffron organization, as terror organization. At that time, a lot of inquiries started. A lot of people wanted to join RSS, understand what is RSS. That is how scenario changed. So we should also credit Congress and Communist Party for creating this kind of atmosphere that people wanted to know what exactly is wrong with the Hindu organization. And then continuous use of social media, internet, etc. got more people connected, and there is a huge upsurge in RSS support and also RSS membership and other organizations. So we have been using media, social media, etc. diligently, carefully, so that you don't fall into the trap of really getting into propaganda, etc. So that is totally dissuaded. So slowly now, if you look at the way the violent, or rather linguistically violent way RSS is being opposed even now, shows that they have realized they are losing the battle of perception. They are also losing the battle of what is so-called idea of India. So if you say there is no India, if you say that we had no history apart from Mughals and British, and we were just a poor, wretched country with no achievement to our credit, and we say that we are a 10,000-year-old civilization with huge achievements in every field, include not just spirituality but every field. Slowly, people are realizing this is the true Bharat. This is the reason that these people are losing the narrative, and RSS and its affiliates are winning the narrative.
That's correct. Over the years, things have changed, Ratanji, but still doubts are still persisting. Every time we see a TV debate, panelists of other persuasion, they kind of try to tell the RSS panelist or somebody who is representing the RSS ideology that, look, you do not have a right to talk about anything because you did not participate in the freedom struggle. And therefore, you talk about the nationalism or whatever is a bogus thing because you have no contribution insofar as the freedom struggle is concerned. And this has been something which has been a bothering point. I must also share with you and the audience also today that during our student days, when I was in JNU, I wished I had a book like this which had clarified many things about the role of RSS in the freedom struggle. So it would be beneficial for us also and all the participants who are there today to talk in brief about the role that was played by RSS, and that is documented in this book also during the freedom struggle, which has not sadly been included in the history that is being taught about freedom struggle in our schools.
You forget about this. If you remember struggle against emergency, where 80% to 85% people who went to jail and to offer satyagraha were RSS people and affiliated to RSS. Even that is not being credited in any so-called new historians like Mr. Ram Guha. For them, just 2 letters of Balasaheb Devras to the Prime Minister are the key issue, but not the actual work on the field. Although all this is documented well, but they are simply in denial mode. That is one. Secondly, if you look at this freedom struggle, nobody ever questioned communists about their role. Then I got hold of this Sandeep De's wonderful book about Kahani Communiston ki. It's a good lesson in what communists are. So I just give 3-4 examples. I don't quote the entire book. One is the first Communist Party first supported British when they had tie up with Hitler. First they tied up with the British because first Hitler and Russia were together. So these people supported Russia and Hitler. Then when Hitler attacked Russia, they changed their stance. They started supporting British. So this jump in the role, first supporting Russia and Hitler, then supporting communists, not known to many people. It also not known that they presented a document called Adhikari document urging the cabinet mission of British to break India into 17 independent sovereign states, because India was never one state. So this kind of approach, they were very important factors of Sheikh Abdullah demanding sovereignty. 2 communist people, a couple stayed there in their home in Kashmir, settled there, and was guiding Sheikh Abdullah's rise from a communal leader to a secular leader. That is where Nehru and Gandhi fell for him. And then they also supported creation of Pakistan. So then after the independence, they said this is not independence proletariat because Stalin said so. And then they had rebellion in Andhra Pradesh. These issues about the duplicity of communists is not known. So you just have to throw that at them and they have nothing else to say. And if they talk about RSS when the debate is something else, I simply swipe aside their question because they just want to deviate the debate. There is enough data now that RSS participated. I will just, in very brief, I'll talk about, first of all, I'll talk about something not much known. Dadra Nagar Haveli was liberated by RSS Swayamsevak. It is not recorded. They won award for that. I mean, citation in history. Just a few hundred Swayamsevaks went there and took over that Portuguese colony. Then 55 agitation of 5,000 people went to Goa, led by Jagannath Rao Joshi, who later joined Jansangh. And people died there also. People died during 1942. I gave examples, names there. I will not name them for lack of time. So people have died with police bullets. And if I say that if you consider if I talk about, was independence really a fruit of non-violent struggle? A question that we must ask, not because we doubt what Gandhiji or Nehruji did, but because if you have Andolan every 10 years, 1920 there was Andolan, which was mixed with Khilafat Andolan, which was the biggest mistake that somebody ever did. Nobody was ready to question Congress, Nehru and Gandhi on this. I brought that out. After that, 1920, Dr. Hedgewar took part as a Congress member. 1930, he resigned from RSS and took part as a Congress member, and hundreds of RSS people went to jail. So that was the second Andolan. Then the third was 1942. So can you imagine, after 10 years, even 42 was failed, 1930 was called off, 1920 was not successful. So, and every time they said the independence plus kinare par khadi hai. So if 42, if these 3 movements which are crushed and nothing came of it, then how can you say that British left India? Then I talk about the naval mutiny, I talk about INA trials, where actually in the new book of Netaji by one gentleman, I forgot their name now, who has clearly just published, Mr. Day, I think, Kaushik Day, Mr. Day. So he just publishes British documents where British are scared that what will happen to us if these people rebel, because INA trial has fired up people. The naval mutiny is so different, they started calling for aircrafts, etc. So they decided that we will leave British. That is clearly written in that particular book. It is by Garuda Prakashan. So with this book and what I have written, and if you see, the movement of independence doesn't come overnight. Dr. Ambedkar has said it, Vivekananda, if you say that cultural revolution takes place before any political revolution happens, whether it's the time of Buddha, whether it's time of even Muhammad, whether it's time of Vivekananda, and what Dr. Ambedkar also says, that's the kind of cultural movement that built the tempo, and there was a renaissance in India and different societies, and then these kind of freedom movement really pick up. So to simply discount every work done by revolutionaries, by various people who changed the entire aspect of people's thinking. After Congress was a debating club when it was founded, if you remember, it was created as safety wall, so people's anger after the bhang is somehow drowned. So it became a debating club. They came only for dominion status, never talked of freedom. Dr. Hedgewar talked of freedom, complete freedom in 1920, and Congress passed the resolution in 1930. And after that, they said 26 January 1930, we will have a flag hoisting. So Dr. Hedgewar asked all the shakhas to hoist flags and tell what is important to the freedom struggle. He also stood by Gandhiji despite not liking Khilafat Andolan at all. So there is a whole history, and what happens in partition, who suffered in partition. These people after partition went home with it, making the cabinet, getting happily into government bungalows, but who fought the people who were left orphans during the partition? Only RSS in Punjab, Akali Dal, entire Sindh, Punjab, Jammu Kashmir, entire belt was only guarded by RSS, supported by RSS at their cost of lives. Is this not part of freedom struggle? In fact, the prize they got for this was ban on RSS, because Nehru was very jealous of RSS popularity. BBC also said that only person after Nehru who can gather such crowds is Guruji. So this popularity of RSS was really burnt up Congress and Nehru. The resolutions to ban RSS began before Gandhi's assassination. It began in 1947. The camps were cancelled. Some people were arrested. False cases were put up. Some Pradesh committees passed resolution to ban RSS because of this popularity. Though Guruji clearly said that we are not going to join politics anytime. So all this has to be understood. That is the important. There is a small book where I have not even gone to the whole history. There are other books which need to be studied, which I referred in the book. So this falsehood will die one day. And communists are the last people to talk about that. Just because they had history in their hand, they under the patronage of Nehru and Indira Gandhi, they could write what they wanted to. It will not change the history because documents exist.
Many thanks, Ratanji, for clarifying this. And for the benefit of the participant, I must say that this book documents the various places where RSS Swayamsevaks contributed during freedom struggle. Many of them were martyred, including places like Sindh in present-day Pakistan, including in a place called Chimur in Maharashtra, including in Patna and various other places. So this is something which is illuminated in this book. And Ratanji, taking this forward.
One more point, people don't even know there is a parallel women's wing called Rashtriya Sevika Samiti. Just 1 week before partition, Guruji went around in Sindh and Punjab, and even Sevika Samiti's head was in Karachi defending the women and bringing them to Mumbai in a hidden form somehow to keep them safe.
Correct.
So women were also equally active during that time.
Yes, that is well documented in the book also, and that's why insofar as the independence struggle is concerned, those naysayers who have been questioning RSS, this is an answer to them. Ratanji, one pertinent question that arises, many times we have seen in the past about 90-95 years of existence of the Sangh, that there are 3 kinds of writing or books about the RSS. The first kind is that, downright rejecting RSS, castigating RSS as a communal organization. There are many books which have been written by authors of various persuasions. The second kind of a book is that they try to link RSS with the rise of the Janasangha or BJP or the political part. In that sense, your books, including 360 RSS and this book, has taken a nuanced stand in the sense that you have given us unadulterated, if I may use that word, unadulterated and pure RSS. So, can you please tell us, that as a writer, as an author, there is always this temptation to talk about politics, talk about political figure. And as we talk, we are also witnessing various, op-ed, and today's Indian Express also had an op-ed about the relationship between Advani ji, Bajpayee ji and the Sangh. So there is a temptation, I must say, as an author to link up everything, but you have kind of resisted that temptation and you have singularly focused only on RSS and the work of RSS. And this book is about the Sarasanga Chalaks of the RSS and how they have shaped the organization, how they have made it a collective kind of a movement, and how they have shaped this organization, which has not gone through any split in the last 95 years. So kindly tell our participant as to how you resist the temptation, so to say, about talking about politics, about talking about various other figures who may have been RSS pracharaks but went on to hold on various posts.
See, it's very easy to get into political gossip because that makes the book sell. Even recently, there is a book yesterday which is full of gossip. There is a book on Dr. Mohanji Bhagwat, which was nothing but gossip from market. And these people publish, they sell because RSS sells. But for RSS, politics has been just one part of the entire social movement. If you see the aspect of RSS which has come over the last since 1950 onwards, there is no dimension of social life where RSS is not involved. In fact, Guruji was against politics. He was convinced by the young Swayamsevaks when Shyama Prasad Mukherjee came to seek support that released some people because nobody supported RSS during ban. With that in mind, RSS, a few pracharaks were sent out. So RSS, Guruji would never talk to those people unless RSS, they sought RSS advice, they let them work. And very interesting story, since many people talk about that in 1984 when BJP was formed, they talked of Gandhian socialism. So naturally, after the very controversial and very saddening aspect of Janata Party splitting in a bogus way, and RSS and BJP, Jan Sangh suffering for it, when the new party was formed, Gandhian socialism was brought in. So many people naturally got very agitated and went to Balasaheb Devras and asked him, what is this Gandhian socialism, etc.? What happened to Hindutva and integral humanism? Balasaheb Devras simply said, they have created a new party. They know what is happening in society. Let them experiment. Let them do what they want to do. Finally, in the next 5-6 years, they return to Hindutva. And as you know, they return to Hindutva, the entire story of Ram Janmabhoomi. Then Advani ji asked for help and asked for more pracharas. They were deputed to BJP. So RSS only takes that much interest that is required. Beyond that, RSS does not interfere in politics. And there are so many social dimensions where work has to be outside government. Government is not the answer. That every Satsang Jagala has time again said that governments are not the answer to social issues. People must get involved. Only when people get involved will the society change. That was the stand from day one, and that is still the stand. So people love to quote politics and think that RSS is around only for politics. It's not true. That is just one of the dimensions, and that is what I kept in mind by the writing earlier or writing now. Even Congress comes in incidentally because Congress is the major critic and major oppressor of RSS. Otherwise, I don't even talk of Congress much. Because after all, to understand such a huge organization, its dimensions, its open architecture, which allows more and more organizations to join in and add up and still survive together with mutually sometimes conflicting views. That is a huge, salute to the RSS way of functioning. So rather than focusing on one side, if we see how more and more organizations get added, more people get added, but still there is no conflict, there is no difference, because to come to consensus till there is a solution is the heart of RSS work. Then personal relations are the heart of RSS, which people realize if they read both the books. And that is why just focusing on politics may be good for book sales, but it is not good to understand RSS from a really social thinkers perspective, and people are really serious about RSS. In fact, I say there are hundreds of theses waiting to be written on RSS. From organization to various other organizations, how they are created. Just imagine Ekal Vidyalaya. One pracharak thinks of Ekal Vidyalaya, one teacher, one school. Today, in 15 or 20 years, there are 1 lakh Ekal Vidyalayas. Did anybody think of writing a PhD on that? So apart from Malini Bhattacharya, who has written a book on RSS Seva as extension of religious thoughts, etc. I don't remember the name correctly. Nobody has done this kind of serious study. So we need more PhDs, we need more research on each and every dimension. Imagine Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh starting as a purely Indian organization in a field totally dominated by left and Congress and becoming number 1. Why nobody has thought of writing a PhD on that? ABVP, changing generations, keep on changing. They keep on supplying leaders. Some go to BJP, some come back to RSS, some go to field of something else. Has anybody thought of that? What is that key? What is that brings out this best in people? Ordinary people doing extraordinary work. That is the key to real work we need to analyze RSS on.
Yes, as Guru Golwalkar and Adgawarji used to say, and everybody in RSS says that Vyakti Nirman is the key.
See,
But
out of 95 years, 25 gone into British period. After that, 70 years, most of it under Congress and against all the critics, including Kerala, where RSS has suffered a lot. Everywhere, people just come out because they have firm belief in ideology, not any politics. What is the motivation for RSS themselves in Kerala?
Correct.
Except Hindutva, except nationalism, what is the pull? Nothing. So this is in Northeast, RSS worked for 70 years. They came in and they went there in 1950. So they worked silently, continuously. Now it's hard. Northeast suddenly changed. It is not sudden. It has taken years of tapasya, sacrificed by hundreds of lives that this change has become. That is very important to understand.
Correct. That's what Professor Makarand Paranjape also says in the introduction to this book. And now that we are talking about Hindutva, Ratanji, this is one area which is it is misunderstood, and it is portrayed in a manner that Sangha and RSS and its affiliate organizations, they want to make Bharat a Hindu Rashtra, and therefore all those who are not Hindus will be driven away, and they will be in a place which is not safe to them. And therefore the concept of Hindutva that is there, or that is being followed, or the ideology of Hindutva that is being followed by RSS is being portrayed as something not good for the nation, for Bharat. And in your book also you have devoted one chapter about Hindutva, how the entire concept of understanding of RSS also has evolved since the days of its inception. Maybe Veer Savarkar at that point in time, his book on Hindutva may have some influence on it, but later on, through the various work of various Sarasanga Chalak, it has kind of gone under a various modification. And very interestingly in your book at page 336, you have spoken about Hindu Rashtra being called Bharat Rashtra later on. So kindly tell our participant as to how this concept of Hindutva, which is being misunderstood, how this can be explained to people who have question mark and doubts about Hindutva and the intention of the Sangh insofar as Hindutva is concerned and insofar as Hindu Rashtra is concerned. And that is a big doubt which is there in everybody's mind who does not understand RSS. And in fact, people who are related with RSS also may have self-doubts as to what Hindutva is all about. You have dealt with that in great detail in your book, but it would be beneficial for us to understand as to what, when RSS talks about Hindutva, what does Hindutva mean in simple language?
Actually, I am already exhausted. I am feeling tired now. So I'll give a very small answer because, continuous reading for so long is taking its toll. So I will not speak much. I would rather advise people to read that particular chapter. But from the time of Punya Bhumi, Janma Bhumi, because Dr. Ji has also read, Savarkar. He had also been interacting with Savarkar. He had interacted with everybody. But point is that he went for the notional definition, which is also constitutional definition, that those who are not Muslims, Christians or Jews, etc., they are all Hindus. People residing in this country, in this geography are all Hindus. Definition of Hindu is cultural, geographical, with same forefathers, same cultures. If I say same forefathers, same cultures, so whether you are Muslim or a Hindu or a Christian, you are a Hindu. So there is a religious terminology of Hindu, but there is also a cultural definition of Hindu. That is what RSS follow. If you look at our habits, our natural, cultural, social habits, they are common across all religions. So from saying that conventional definition of Hindus, when Guruji also followed that, but in when his 51st birthday, he talked about Ghar Wapsi. That was the first time he talked of Ghar Wapsi. In 72, in 72, he said that in an interview, clearly said that we don't want to convert people. We just talk of India. BJP had talked of Indianization, but Raj Mathur, he said Indianization means you accept that your forefathers and your DNA is all Hindu, and you just change religion, you can't change culture. If that happens, everything is okay. For us, then Bala Saheb Deras went a step ahead. He said, you can be Hindu Christian, you can be Hindu Muslim. So Hindu is a cultural definition of person in this particular country, and they're welcome to join the RSS. Thereon, it has been continuously evolving. There is one VHP definition which is global, which is more religious. Then there is other definition which is Mohanji has been taking the same idea forward. They have not changed, only presentation of the thought has changed. It may be very unpopular. Some very ultra-Hindutva people may feel that RSS is going beyond the brief and trying to make everybody Hindu. But slowly this idea, what do you do with people who really believe it's their mother and who really believe that their forefathers are same? Like if we give example of Indonesia, where people are Muslims, but they still they're devoted to Ram, they do Ram Lila, their names and their institutions are named after Hindus and Buddhists. So this particular aspect of Hindutva has to be accepted. Plus, RSS never talked of theocratic state. None of the Hindu kings were ever theocratic. None of the subjects were ever imposed any religion. If you even look at Shivaji was just to all the religions, the latest of the Hindu Rajas. So this is not a theocratic concept. It is a concept, it is a culture and geographical, and people will slowly come to understand that we have to include more people into our sphere than rather keeping people out. So we are an inclusive society, we are not an exclusive society. Now the timing, I'll say only this, because as I said, I'm losing steam now.
No, I'm very sorry to have kept you about all this. I can understand, but
my family people are peeping from the door and staring at me.
Okay, we'll end this discussion. So I would have wanted personally, and the kind of questions that are coming, those are coming. I'm sure that all these participants also would have liked this discussion to go, but maybe for some other day. I would hand it over to Mohit ji so that we can take some of the questions which have been asked.
Just
by
two questions, yeah.
Yeah, I think considering your health situation, sir, we will not exert you more. And there are some very interesting questions, I must say, which definitely would need us to delve into more discussion. But considering we had promised you for 45 minutes, we are absolutely fine if you would like to take rest now. And I've already sent a personal message to some of the people who have asked questions, whom I know. That is it possible?
I can have another round with you once I get cured. So please
that would be lovely, sir. And not only for this.
Question answer only.
Only question.
Yes.
So for
I love question answers. I like the challenge.
So
yes.
I'll say an apology to all our participants who have sent their
Just
question.
after 14 days, just log me in again. I'll be there.
And just
Sure. It will be a pleasure for all of us.
Thank you everyone for joining in. And
You want to ask a couple of questions? You want to take
in case we can take, because the injustice would be that if we take few and if we don't take others.
Okay. That was again at second session. I didn't want to disappoint this time, so I said, let me somehow manage.
There has to be part 2 for sure, sir, for this time. But we have the questions saved with us. I will send it to you on email for sure. And it would be a pleasure to have you again. And thank you.
Apologies to all of you that I have not been able to take questions. I love that part. As I said, I am losing steam now, so I better give up.
May Almighty be with you, sir. And you just take care and take care of the entire family. Stay safe. Thank you everyone for joining in, and we will meet very soon. By the way, before Dr. Sharda goes, Sandeep ji was mentioning about a book which is actually Jugalbandi, which is just this is exactly what the relationship between Amit Shah, Modi, as well as all other Jugalbandis which exist.
Yeah.
I think we are hosting Vinay Sitapati on 6th of December. I must tell you, 6th of December, which is a date nobody can say that's not related to us in the modern times. 6th of December evening, we should catch up again. You may have some very interesting discussions and new perspectives to come up. Thank you, Dr. Sharda. Just take rest.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandeep ji, and thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you.